Hello, everybody. It's story time with Teacher Gabe. Today we're going to be reading Pumpkin Town by Mcky and illustrated by Pablo Bernasconi. Jose and his family grew pumpkins. That growing began with shiny seeds, which were followed by long vines, and those vines grew every which way. The pumpkins grew every which way too, from small to fat and tall. The Jack-be-littles could be dropped into pockets. The Happy Jacks were bigger. A strong enough boy could carry just one. The Big Moons were bigger still, too large for 5 boys to roll. Come fall, Jose and his family would gather the pumpkins and collect the vines. Then 2 trucks took the fruit to faraway cities. Some were hollowed and carved, and some were saved for pies. But before the trucks took the pumpkins, Jose and his family saved a few. They needed the seeds. When it came to saving pumpkins, Jose's father always said, "Save only the best and sell the rest." So Jose and his brothers hollowed the best pumpkins and saved only the biggest, brightest seeds. They took the duller, smaller seeds to the edge of the field, overlooking the town, and tossed them. But one gusty, dusty October day, when Jose and his brothers took the lesser seeds to the edge of the field and flung them, the wind caught those seeds and carried them, and didn't let them loose until they fell like rain down on the distant town. The seeds slipped into straw roofs and settled into flower pots and sprinkled gardens. But the next spring, rain awoke those small seeds, and plants began. More rain fell, and vines grew every which way. They wrapped around chimneys and wound through corn. At first the townspeople liked the vines, for they were lovely and delicate. But then the vines began to climb, up and down and around, growing leafy and thick. They snaked green and silent through one window and then out another. Then fruit grew, and grew, and grew, every which way. Soon the townspeople were stepping over pumpkins, and around pumpkins, and under pumpkins. It was hard to walk even a block. Rooftops sagged under the weight of big moons. Fences fell, and when the wind blew, one had to dodge Happy Jacks and Jack-be-littles falling from trees. "Nothing is worse than pumpkins," groaned the townspeople. Meanwhile, up on their mountainside, Jose and his family cut and stacked their pumpkins, saving only the best, and when they were done, they stepped back and said, "Nothing is better than pumpkins." But when Jose and his family looked down at the town, it looked odd. It seemed so green and orange. Since their fieldwork was done, and because Jose and his brothers were curious, they walked to town the next day, where they saw more vines and pumpkins than they'd ever imagined. They remembered the gusty, dusty day that they scattered their seeds. "It's our fault," whispered Jose. "We must do something," whispered his brothers. "We rest for now," whispered Jose. But that night Jose and his brothers cut and stacked the pumpkins and vines. They worked as quietly as they could, but some townspeople still sneaked peeks. They marveled at how well the brothers worked. The brothers climbed up poles and twined through trees and snaked silent through one window and out the other, gathering and stacking pumpkins and vines. When the townspeople awoke, they discovered a mountain of pumpkins and a hill of vines and a mound of tired brothers. While the brothers slept, the townspeople filled a wagon with hay and set 5 great watermelons between Jose and his brothers in thanks for their aid. That wagon took the brothers back to their home, where they were laid in the glossy grass, still sleeping. When their father found them there, he asked them what they had done to deserve the great watermelons. "We just helped the townspeople with their harvest," the brothers said. which was true, and nothing more was said. Down in town, 5 trucks came from the mountain of pumpkins, and the townspeople were given a grand sum of money for all that fruit. "Ah, nothing is better than pumpkins," they said. Much of the money went towards a feast, held around a bonfire made by burning the hill of vines. It was decided then that the rest of the pumpkin money would be spent to carve a statue of the 5 mysterious brothers who had made a mountain of pumpkins. It took all the next week for the townspeople to repair their roofs and their fences, and it took all of that week for Jose and his brothers and his father to eat their gifts, their great gifts. The melons were so sweet that Jose and his family said, "Nothing is better than watermelons." "Be careful with the seeds," Jose's father said. "Our field grows pumpkins, not watermelons." So Jose's family filled a great bowl with seeds, and those seeds were forgotten until a day later, when the wind roused Jose's father at night. He feared that some of those watermelon seeds might have blown into the field. By moonlight, he carried the bowl to the edge of the field, and he tossed the seeds. The wind caught those seeds and carried them, and didn't let them loose until they fell like rain down on the town. The watermelon seeds slipped into straw roofs and settled into flower pots and sprinkled gardens and slid into soil around the statue of Jose and his brothers. And that seemed to be the end of it. And that is the end of Pumpkin Town, which I think is going to be called Watermelon Town next. Alright, next we have Leaves by David Erza Stein. Alright, it was his first year. Everything was going well. Until the first leaf fell. "Are you okay?" he wondered. Then a red one fell, a yellow one fell. All over his island the leaves were falling. The trees are losing all their leaves. He tried to catch them and put them back on, but it was not the same. He sat beneath a tree and watched them go all around. But he grew sleepy, and so he found a hole and filled it with leaves, and went to sleep just as the wind began to blow. Winter came. He slept snug in the ground while the snow piled thick. In the spring, with wide eyes, he awoke. He felt the sun and saw the little buds on the bare arms of the trees, and the tiny leaves that had begun to unfold. "Welcome," he cried. And he thought the leaves welcomed him. And that's how a little bear discovers the joy of seasons. And that was Leaves. Alright, next we have My M Book, written by Jane Belk Moncure and illustrated by Colin King. My M Book. Little M had a box. "I will find things that begin with my M sound," he said. "I will put them into my sound box." Little M found monkeys. Did he put the monkeys in his box? He did. Then little M found a mouse. Then he found another mouse and another mouse. He found many mice. Did he put the mice into his box with the monkeys? He did. But the monkeys did not like the mice. They jumped out of the box and ran up a mountain. Then the monkeys ran down the mountain. Little M ran up the mountain. The mice ran up the mountain too. I think I read that backwards. The monkeys were so angry they did not see the mud. The monkeys fell into the mud. What a mess! Little M and the mice pulled the monkeys out of the mud. Little M put the monkeys back in the box. "Mice, be nice," he said. "I must find something else for my mice." Just then little M met a moose. "Moose," he said, "you are just what I need for my mice." Little M saw a merry-go-round. "Let's ride on the merry-go-round," he said. He found some money, and they all went for a ride on the merry-go-round. Then little M looked up and saw the moon. "The moon belongs in my box," he said. "How can I get the moon?" I think the moon's going to be too big to fit in his box. Just then, little M met a magician. "The moon is too big for your box," said the magician, "but I will take you to the moon in my magic moon machine." I think those are called spaceships. And he did. He took them all the way to the moon. Some magic. Let's see. He took them all the way to the moon. Some magic. Monkey, mouse, moose, moon, magician, mouse, 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 monkey, monkey. They have a lot of M's in there. Can you read these words like little M? Mittens, mop, magnet, marbles, milk, moccasins. Marshmallow, macaroni, mug, microscope, motorcycle, mustard, mat, magazine. All right, and that was my M book. And that was all the stories I have for today. Thank you guys for reading with me. I hope you guys have a good day.